when I'm diagnosed at the doctor's with a food allergy, where do I go in store? I started from that kitchen table. I didn't have any experience in making food.
Yeah.
It was really important for my business to have different channels, different products, and different countries.
Oh, wow.
We launched in 350 stores to begin with. It was a decision actually 2 years later after launching into them to pull out.
Well, welcome to the Small Business Sessions, Julianne. Thank you so much for joining me. I'm excited to hear the story of how you've grown your snack brand, Creative Nature. So let's get started on your story. So let's go back to the beginning. That's always the best place to start. How did it all begin with your business?
Yes, so it really does come from a personal experience. So a lot of entrepreneurs say that, but mine genuinely was life or death. So I have severe anaphylaxis to peanuts, tree nuts, chickpeas, sesame, so many things, and unfortunately ended up in intensive care around 14 times in my life when I was younger through eating something that had a may contain on the back or going out to restaurants and having a snack or whatever that might be. It made me realise how many other people are also going through this. And I wanted to create a brand that was inclusive to all. So that's how I really started. I started from that kitchen table. I didn't have any experience in making food, just sort of my mum that made me my lunches and things like that. Threw things together and went out to high streets, sampled the product. You won't believe it, but back then people actually spat the product out when they first tried it.
Great market research, I suppose.
But it's all about feedback and tweaking. And so that's really how I started. So I started from the ground up and wanted to create a solution for someone like myself that I knew that there was a market there for it.
You were so you said you were like literally making it in your classic kitchen table startup. How were you like sourcing the ingredients? How were you actually making it? How did you like learn? Like you said, you hadn't got that background. So how did you like know how to make a snack bar?
It's kind of just trial and error, if I'm completely honest. So for example, myself and Matthew joined the team quite early on, about 6 months in, but we took ingredients from the supermarket, just staple ingredients, like your sultanas, apricots, oats, gluten-free oats, of course. Put them all together in and mix them in a Vitamix blender. You can use any blender, but we happened to have a Vitamix at that time. Smashed them all up with our hands, baked them for a little bit and went out. Right. It really was as like simple as that to get the first sort of iterations. Until today, I will still tell you that we do the first iterations in our kitchen.
Oh, really?
Before we now we have a development team, and now we outsource to different laboratories and things like that, where we get the product formulated a lot better. But we still start from the kitchen table.
That's nice. Well, I guess that's good, because then you know, because you've got to have an element of control, haven't you? So you know that it's good. You know that it's the right product. You are your audience. You know, you are your exact target market. Obviously, you've gone into, you said you started doing it yourself. People not liking it to start with, and then liking it and trial and error. And now you're in like big retailers. That's like the journey that consumer brands like yours want to achieve. So do you want to talk a bit about that journey into getting into the big shops? How did you go about that and achieve that?
Yeah, the retailers are always a big dream when you're starting out. And we started out with markets and then went to independents and sold through wholesalers. And I do recommend starting there and really understanding your customer and understanding, okay, where will I then sit in retail? Everyone wants to be in retail, but they don't always know where their product should be placed. And it's the same as me. I just wanted to be in store. I wanted to be in the likes of Tesco, Sainsbury's, Ocado, etc. But I didn't understand right at the beginning where I needed to sit. And for me, that was really important. I needed to learn that. And I started to understand, okay, where are people shopping for the products that I am creating? So for example, myself, when I'm diagnosed at the doctor's with a food allergy, where do I go in store? I'm told to go to the free-from aisle. I'm told to see what's there. I then looked at the free-from aisle and I saw that 80 to 90% of products in there carried may contains. So there was a gap for my product in that market, and there was a real need. So then I started really targeting those aisles and those supermarkets to be able to be in there and be able to deliver to that customer. But it wasn't easy. It's a lot of knockbacks. There's a lot of cold calling. I even stalked, I guess, the buyers. I wouldn't recommend that now. But I found out who the buyers were. I turned up at the head offices. I sat in the lobby. I made friends with the receptionists and yeah, eventually got a meeting. My first actual launch was Holland Barrett, which I guess it is a retailer, but it's not a major multiple retailer. And we launched into those stores, around 350 stores to begin with. And it was a decision actually 2 years later after launching into them to pull out, which was one of the big pivotal moments for me, because a lot of brands want to be in these retailers, but they don't always know the cost of how much it takes to get there. And for someone like my business, we were completely bootstrapped. We didn't have any external investment. We weren't backed by a VC or a PE or anything like that. It genuinely was reinvesting the profits that we were making. So that's what we did.
No, brilliant. That tip around going in the shop and actually looking at the shop. I mean, it seems really obvious, doesn't it? But it might not be something you do. You know, where would you be, and are there products like yours already? So you said it was a Holland and Barrett you pulled out of. Why did you make that? Why did you make that decision?
We weren't making any money. It wasn't profitable to be selling into this retailer. It's the hardest decision you have to make as an entrepreneur, because everyone's telling you, oh my gosh, you're in Holland and Barrett. Your parents are going, oh, you've made it, you're in all these stores. And I'm thinking, sustainably, this is not, I want to be a business that lasts the test of time. I want to be making that impact to every single person that we're, I guess, saving their life, where they're not having to choose something that has a may contain. And that's when I decided, okay, even though this could cost me the revenue that we would lose from Holland Barrett, but what I actually want to do, I want to go into another retailer that is sustainable for the brand and to continue going. And that's what I chose to do. Now we're stocked in Holland and Barrett again, though. So just because you've said no now and it doesn't work for you doesn't mean that that's no forever. It just means you have to figure out a way to get your economies of scale, your cost of goods down, all of these things that will happen in time and that you might not have from day one. A lot of entrepreneurs compare themselves. They go, oh, this entrepreneur's got themselves in Tesco's. You don't know whether that account is profitable or not. So it's about what you need to run your own race and always put one foot in front of the other for yourself rather than looking at others.
Yeah, and you're right. And it's got to work for the retailer as well, isn't it? They obviously want stuff to sell. So if it isn't selling, they respect you for going, it's not right for us right now, but I'll be back. And you are, and it's worked. So that's great. You've mentioned funding, and I've got a couple of questions on funding. And I know you did some crowdfunding, which we'll get onto. But the Dragon's Den experience, which I know you ask about a lot, but some people may recognize you from the Dragon's Den show, and you had an interesting experience. You went on it, you got the deal, didn't you? And then it didn't happen in the end. So do you want to talk about that? Why did you decide to do the show, and what impact did it have on the business?
Dragon's Den's always an interesting one. I think it's a fantastic platform, and it's an amazing way for entrepreneurs to go. We chose to do the show after being asked to do it for 4 times.
Right.
It took a lot of courage. I didn't want to do it, if I'm completely honest. And the reason why I chose to do it was, one, because we were looking for funding. And the second reason was I knew that I didn't have the marketing budget at that time to be spending on out-of-home advertising or acquiring those customers that I needed to. And I thought, well, if anything, if I do go on and they don't get the investment, at least I will have so many people's eyes on my product. And at the time, we were launching into 2 retailers. I knew we had already confirmed a launch. And that's when I decided I'm going to take the risk and go on the Den. The experience was, I can't really liken it to anything I've done before. It grew me as a person, but also broke me as a person. There are 2 different sides to the story. I felt that I was very prepared. I'm a person that practices probably a million times before I do something. And I always think, as an entrepreneur, you probably shouldn't do that as much. And I always try to tell myself, it's not perfect, but actually you can move forward with it. But yeah, I practiced so hard for the Den. And then when we went in there, I just didn't expect 2.5 hours of questions. Yeah. It was a lot to contend with. But I don't regret going on. We did get investment, but I chose to turn down the offer outside the den, mainly because of the valuation. I thought because we were launching into these retailers and I just didn't have the physical purchase order at the time, I thought the valuation was lower than I would have liked. I think everyone thought I was crazy at the time because everyone sees some of the incredible successful entrepreneurs that have been on there, like Levi Roots and a lot of people in the food industry. So turning that down was quite difficult, and my mum and dad were not too pleased with me at the time. But I think it was, I believe it was the right decision. And there's no point looking back and going, oh, what if? Because there isn't a what if. There's just a move forward.
Yeah, the run your own race, like you said earlier. I love that. So, but what I suppose often, I mean, that has happened to some, but we've had some other Dragon's Den contestants on the show and who had a similar experience. But it's like the marketing impact for the brand. Did it impact sales? Did you have one of those moments you're on the show and you watch your e-commerce orders increase?
It was genuinely crazy. We sold out. We sold out in the 2 retailers that we launched in pretty much within 2 days.
Right.
All the stock was gone. We couldn't get stock in. We weren't prepared.
Right.
So be prepared. If you go on Dragon's Den, it is real, and the amount of people that do see your product and then go and look at your website or go into store and buy your product, just be prepared for that and converse with the buyers, I would say, beforehand to let them know, because you can put things in place to enhance and amplify your marketing special, I guess. And then in terms of your website, our hosting wasn't ready.
Right.
It crashed. All of these little fundamental things, I would say, get a better hosting provider during that time. You can do it. You can do it through things like Fiverr. People will help you. You can easily get it from them. Also, things like your security on your website, again, processing payments, how quick you can, all these little nitty gritty things that you just don't think about. I would say definitely do. Another big tip is get a PR firm or get a PR freelancer if you don't want to hire someone in-house. My main tip on that is because once you do go on the den, there is a certain window where you can really amplify your reach and people will be coming to you, wanting to speak to you, but you physically can't do it all and manage it all, plus manage your business and the orders coming in. So having someone on side from that PR and that's already got press releases written, quotes done up, it will make your life so much easier.
Big thanks to Vodafone Business for sponsoring this podcast as part of our business.connected campaign, which helps small businesses tap into the power of digital connectivity. With business.connected, get support on the technologies and digital business areas that can help you and your business work smarter. Grow online with expert guidance, peer insights, digital skills training, and smart connectivity solutions. To learn more, head to enterprisenation.com/business connected. So we've asked the Enterprise Nation community to submit some questions for this season of the Small Business Sessions. And we've had a question from Nisha Hack, who's a photographer from Iggy and Lime. And she has asked for you, what's been the most powerful shift in how you show up as the face of your business? And how has building a personal brand helped or hindered your visibility, credibility, or growth as a founder?
I think that personal branding is really important. I never believed in it in the beginning stages of my business. I actually didn't want to put my face to the name of the brand at all. And I didn't want to do that because I was very worried about becoming too intertwined. But what we did was after we launched our first products, our snack bars and our baking kits, things like that, and we did all of those designs on paint, bear in mind. So this was not using any branding agency or anything. We just did it ourselves. When we actually did employ a branding agency, they were very much behind the idea of your brand is as authentic as it can get. It's you. You've created this because you cannot physically eat these things. You go on a plane and you could die on board that flight if you ate something that contained nuts or if someone opened nuts. Why aren't you talking about this? And I just toyed with it a lot. They wanted to put my face, my picture on the back of pack. I said, absolutely not. I had a limit. However, they said, okay, well, let's start with your social media then. Let's start by you just posting about allergies, about your own experiences. You don't have to say anything about the brand. And slowly, it just happened naturally. My social media started to take off. People started to genuinely just send me, get hundreds of messages a day of parents going, can you give me a tip of what should I do? My son's going on his first residential trip and he's going to be away, and I don't know if the school's going to provide, or I don't know if they're trained to use EpiPens, all of these things. And I was slowly starting to answer all these questions just from my own experience. And then I started posting a little bit about, oh, well, and this is why I created this brownie mix or this banana bread. And suddenly you saw the trajectory, it grow and the engagement grow, but it happened naturally. And we did that over time. And there was no sort of like strategy at the beginning about it. It was pure, authentic content. And we continued to do that. And the compromise of the face on the back of pack was a signature.
Right.
And everything's signed off by me.
Yeah.
And that's how we did. And until today, I go on board a flight and I film myself. Asking the crew, would you mind if I can pre-board early to wipe down the seats? I've actually pioneered quite a few airlines to remove nuts on board.
Oh, wow.
And that's always been part of my goal and my strategy for my mission, I guess.
Amazing. So on to crowdfunding. So you crowdfunded once, didn't you? And it didn't work. And then you did it again and you raised $500,000. So do you want to briefly talk about that and why the first one didn't work and what you did to make the second one work and what your tips would be really for crowdfunding?
Crowdfunding is not for the faint-hearted. I thought it was going to be super easy the first time I did it. I saw all these other entrepreneurs just put videos up and suddenly they would be funded within a couple of weeks. I was thinking, oh, this is the way to go. And that's why I chose to go down that route right at the beginning. I thought, okay, I've got a brand that relates to the consumer. And I think crowdfunding campaigns that specifically relate to the consumer are better, just because you can get a lot of brand ambassadors behind you. The first time, as you've mentioned, did not work. We launched a video, I think put quite a bit of effort in, but didn't pay a big agency or anything to do that. We did it very much off the cuff. It was done in a university. And we filmed it, and I was very rigid at the time. It was very, very much, I guess, amateur. Launched it onto the crowdfunding platform, put all of our blurb there, and just expected it to fund. Now, that isn't the case at all with crowdfunding. If you are thinking that now, hopefully there's loads of other videos out there that show you that is not the case. But I'm going to also tell you that there's a lot of work that goes into a crowdfunding campaign, not just the information about your product and your video. I would say those are your starting points. So get your elevator pitch really, really clear and concise. Get your video very engaging and get that shared across as many places as you can when you go live. However, 6 months before you start put your pitch up, you need to have commitment from multiple investors, and also the people that are going to put 10 to 20 pounds in as well. I say that because I believe on average you need to be around 75% funded of your target before you even go live to the public.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
So you're getting all that pre-investment in, and you have a pre-investment page now that you can run. I don't think you did back then, but you can have that now. Getting the commitment is one thing, but getting everyone to put it in on the same day is another as well.
Yeah, of course.
You need to be able to make sure you've got the resource to chase every single person on that day, whether they're investing £10 or tens of thousands of pounds. Because once you do, the momentum that you see on that crowdfunding platform will soar. You'll be number one. You'd be featured in the newsletters. You'll be featured on things like Reddit and Ladbible, all those things that are going, oh, this crowdfunding is going crazy. That's what you need to do to get that momentum. And the second time around, that's exactly what we did. Before we went live, we had commitment of around, I think we didn't actually have 75%. We had around 60 to 70%. And we went live, and yeah, within 14 days, we were overfunded. It was incredible. But there are so many steps that need to take place. Also, again, PR, make sure you have got someone, either freelancing or in-house. I do bang on a lot about that, but it makes such a difference to be able to getting your story out there. There's so many people that probably believe in your product that don't even know that you're crowdfunding. Share it with your network as much as possible. I had this big imposter syndrome when I was crowdfunding. I didn't want to share it with people I knew. I don't know why that was. I can only think that I was worried about it failing because it had failed the first time. And everyone who has that fear and doubt of failure, the only thing that's going to happen is you're not going to get that extra bit of money in.
Yeah.
So realistically, you're going to miss 100% of the shots that you didn't take. So just take it. Just try.
Brilliant. That was a great answer. Love that. And that thing about, being because people it's that's what it is. It's follow the crowd. People log on. Oh, loads of people are investing. I want to be part of that. And then they invest, don't they? Brilliant.
FOMO.
Exactly. FOMO. Exactly. FOMO is the word. On to exporting. So you export a lot, don't you? You're in, is it over 16 countries? And obviously exporting is a big challenge. And a lot of people, again, something else they'd like to do, but they're just like, I have no idea. How do I sell overseas? So do you want to talk a bit about how you've done that and what your advice would be for exporting?
Yeah, exporting for me is super important for the business, mainly because remembering COVID where things sort of shut down and you couldn't, if you just had one product selling to, say, I don't know, train stations and airlines, that all shut down. So where would you pivot to? For me, it was really important for my business to have different channels, different products, and different countries, because that way I would mitigate my risk. If I lost one area or one area just wasn't performing as well, I could also have this focus in other areas. That's why I always say if I was to start another business again, I would export from day one. And I'm a big believer as well in the small business community that we need to get more SMEs exporting. From day one, especially if you have a service, you definitely should be exporting. If you have a product, slightly harder at times, but there are ways to get around it. Big tip from me is go to the Export Academy. It's run by the Department of Business and Trade. It's free. So it's something that the government is giving us for free. So we should take advantage of this and utilize it within our teams. I make sure every single member of my sales team has gone through the Export Academy, because it's free training in a way that enables you to, first of all, understand the basics of exporting just from A to B, but also the paperwork, how big the market is. If you're a certain size in your business as well, I believe it's over 500,000 turnover, you get a specific international trade advisor as well. These trade advisors can become very useful when you're having a plan to go into certain countries, and also to help you bridge that gap between you and trying to find the right people in that country, because luckily for us, the British Embassy has lots of contacts within relevant countries and people working there who understand food and drink markets, things like that. So get in touch with them. They're willing to help. And this is, again, a resource when you're a very small team, you can utilize. I would say my final tip for export as well is don't do what I did, where I went scattergun approach at the beginning. I wanted to be in every market. No, there's a difference between having a strategic approach of, okay, this market, for example, we are looking at Japan at the moment. Japan has had a huge increase in people suffering from allergic reactions to lactose. Now 1 in 12 children have a food allergy. Suddenly this becomes a market for me. So it's understanding, researching that market, choosing the specific places that are already booming and have similar products, because opening a market can be very tough. If you're going to open a completely new market, you're going to need a lot more cash and a lot more resource. So look where there are other complementary products. I always say it's not always bad to have competition in the market. Actually, some of them might have paved the way, just like we have in the top 14 free section. We've paved that way, but now you can see other products in that section.
Fabulous advice again. Brilliant. Thank you. What about your team? So, you said you started, on your own, and was it Matthew sort of came in quite early on? How have you grown your team? Like, how many people do you have, and what would your advice be on that side of the business?
Yes, the team's still, we've tried to keep it still quite small.
Right.
But the team is, so there's 10 of us in the Hampton Court office, and then we have 6 people on the production line.
Right.
And we went from making in the kitchen table to now being able to produce 180 bars a minute.
Wow.
So
great stats.
It's pretty cool to see that.
Yeah.
But you don't always have to have a big team. A lot of people come to me and go, oh my gosh, I haven't grown that much because my headcount's not grown. Why grow headcount when you don't need to grow headcount? I think that's the other thing. There's so many tools now out there. AI has become a big part of this. And that's not to say you don't need people. It's more to say you need people with the right skill set to use AI and complement their roles. So for example, marketing, you can actually now put in footage to an AI tool and they will be able to edit it very, very quickly and enable you to work on something else while that's being done. ChatGPT, again, is another one. Later is another one. There's so many tools out there, but it's just finding the time to understand them.
AI is not making your snack bars, so that's that's one thing AI isn't doing, which is good. Just finally though, to end it, then what are your plans? If we did this, if we were in 5 years, say, where do you hope the business has got to?
A big thing for me is airlines. So I really want to change the airline industry. We're currently on board 7 airlines at the moment,
nice.
From Virgin Atlantic, Iberia, KLM, etc. But we want to change the game for people who fly with allergies, to enable no one to have to not be able to board. Unfortunately, I have been one of the people that's been stuck in Dubai because they've refused me boarding.
Really?
And
Wow.
10% of people with allergies are refused boarding just because they have a nut allergy.
It's that high? Wow.
Which is huge.
Yeah.
So I'm really working on products that can be safe on board, but also procedures that can be safe on board. And on top of that, we want to be the go-to free-from brand that helps people with allergies.
Amazing. Any airlines, if you're watching, get in touch. Well, Julianne, thank you so much. It's such a brilliant story. Big thanks for joining us on the Small Business Sessions.
Thank you.
Thank you. You've been watching Enterprise Nation's Small Business Sessions podcast, powered by Vodafone Business, as part of our business.connected campaign. For free digital skills training, head to enterprisenation.com/business connected or search business.connected. Don't forget to like the video, share it, and subscribe to our channel. We'll see you next time.